Hey everybody, Randy Patterson here with Boomerocity, and I'm pulling this interview out of the archives. I have a written version of this that is actually linked on Boomerocity.com, but the article appeared in an online magazine roughly 16 years ago in an online magazine called Perfect Sound Forever. I had just barely launched Boomerocity at that time. We're talking 2009. And as I've said in other recordings, I really didn't think Boomerocity would last more than a year. I just thought this was some kind of fluky thing I stumbled onto and it would come and go. Well, here I am in my 17th year doing this and still having a lot of fun. But one of the first interviews I did was with Sam Andrews. Sam Andrews was one of two guitarists with the legendary band Big Brother and the Holding Company, which is, of course, the band that catapulted Janis Joplin to fame. It was her first band, and man, what a band it was, and what memorable hits they came out with, memorable recordings, especially for Janis's very short life and career. Um, I, I when I started this, like I said, I really didn't expect to do a lot of interviews, and so somehow or other, Sam came onto my radar. I honestly don't remember how or why. The emails that I have had that were tied to all that were lost in a hard drive crash or inadvertently deleted. I can't remember even how that happened. But we exchanged a few emails. That much I do remember. And by the way, I'm just giving you this background. If you want to just fast forward and listen to the interview itself, I totally understand. But this is for those of you who want to know what the background was of this particular interview. So we had exchanged some emails, and it turned out that my day job at the time was the company was headquartered in Sunnyvale, California, and I was going out there on business. And Sam lived outside of San Rafael, California, kind of northwest of Sunnyvale. And so we arranged to meet when I came out there on business. And as you already know, since then, most of my interviews are done. They started out over the phone and now on Zoom. So I fly into San Jose, I get into my room at Sunnyvale, and I drove up to San Rafael to meet with him. And I got there a bit early, and so I knew he had mentioned he did some painting in a cafe there in San Rafael. And so I went in there, and just as I was walking in and kind of getting my bearings as to what paintings he had up there, because he would go in there and paint and fans would come in, he'd chat with them and all that. Always a very gracious guy, from at least my experience with him was that way for the most part. And I'll tell you about that in a minute. And so anyway, he called me just as I was getting into the cafe, and we wound up meeting at another cafe just outside of San Rafael. And that cafe was closed, but they had some outdoor tables and chairs and such. And so we sat there, and that's where this interview you're about to hear was recorded. And when I decided to pull this out of the archive, I really didn't know what kind of shape the interview or the audio would be in. It's in surprisingly good shape. In fact, that whole interview was recorded on this little digital recorder. That's what I recorded my interviews on. There was actually a little microphone, believe it or not, that plugged into here, and it would go into my ear, and I would hold the phone up to my ear, and it would catch both sides of the conversation. But in this case, there's two microphones built in, and this recorder just laid out on the table, and he and I sat there and talked, and that's what you're going to hear here. So the interview went very well, and I really didn't, I guess I didn't have enough confidence in my work to put this onto Boomerocity directly. So Perfect Sound Forever said they were interested in it. And in those days, what I would do is I would run my written versions of the interviews by the artist or the management, or at least offer it to them So in case I got something wrong or they said something they wish they hadn't, it was just a courtesy I gave to them. Well, I did that to Sam, and he pretty much rewrote the whole article because he was very particular with words and knew exactly how he wanted to come across, and I let him. Today I wouldn't do that, but back then I was just starting out, and I gave him full reign on that. And that's pretty much the article you see on Perfect Sound Forever. And if you're watching this on the Boomerocity page, you can just click on that link. I'm going to keep that there to honor that entry into PSF. But this video and audio will be on the page so you can hear the interview as it came down. It ends kind of roughly because I honestly never foresaw putting the audio out there for anybody to hear. So it's kind of clunky and all that. But the after the interview ran, and I wanted it to run into that magazine instead of on Boomerocity because I didn't have any traffic. I wanted Sam to get as much eyes on this interview as possible. So I ran it there, Perfect Sound Forever, and I sent him the link. I get a blistering email from him tearing me to shreds. And keep in mind, I was brand new at this. I was heartbroken. And he was upset that I used the word quaint to describe San Rafael. And there was a couple other things. I forget what it was, but I was puzzled because he practically rewrote the article for me and he approved everything on it. And so I wrote him back and I reminded him of that. And I was very nice about it. I was expecting to get torn to shreds again because brand new at this, I didn't know what to expect. And he wrote me the night again. I wish I'd had the email, but it was gone. And now, but I do remember him apologizing to me, saying you're absolutely right, because he was upset with the word quaint and how I described San Rafael, and I reminded him, being the linguist that he is or was, that's not a bad word. Some people use it as kind of a double-edged sword, but I meant it very nice, like I would describe Mayberry or some other fun town. And he agreed with me. He apologized. He said that's what he got for writing emails while he had a little bit too much wine. His words, not mine. So anyway, we got that all settled. And now, we stayed in touch a little bit after that. And sadly, in 2015, he went into the hospital with some heart issues and didn't come out alive. And I've wanted to have this audio out there for the longest time, and I think now's the time to share it. It's been a little over 10 years since he passed. We all love Janis Joplin and Big Brother and the holding company, and he ultimately wound up leaving Big Brother temporarily, and he and Janis formed the Cosmic Blues Band, and then he came back later and stayed with Big Brother for as long as Big Brother performed. And so it's with all those memories in mind, and thank you for indulging me on this reminiscing of how this early interview came about. But with all that in mind, I just wanted to honor the memory of Sam and his kindness to me. And he was kind. You can hear that in this interview. Very gracious, very informative, shared a lot of stories. Oh, and one more thing I want to add. We both kind of dissed the Janis Joplin website that was online at that time. And I want to clarify something. That was a very rough website, and I don't know who was running it at the time. But if you go and look up Janis's website today, as well as Big Brother's website, both of them are excellently done. I don't recall too much about it. I should have kept my mouth shut on it, but it is what it is. I'm putting it out there. I don't have any derogatory feelings towards anybody in the organization of the band. We were just talking, and now those websites are phenomenal. I encourage you to check them both out. So without any further ado, here is the audio from the official Boomerocity archives of one of my first interviews I ever did under the banner of Boomerocity and honestly, Perfect Sound Forever with the late, great Sam Andrew of Big Brother and the Holding Company. Until next time, this is Randy Patterson with Boomerocity. Take care. But
Do you have to? Does it have to
it's
be
on.
edge?
We're on and we're good.
Well,
We got
let's go.
microphones going
Yeah.
both ways here.
All right.
Like I told you in the email, wanted to talk very briefly about Janis, but I want to talk a lot about what you're up to now.
Randy, I have no hang-ups. You can
Well-
talk to me about anything. I love to talk about you.
Well, then well, because of this magazine thing, we may want to
Sure.
do a little bit more of that. But
Yeah. Yeah.
one of the things I wanted to ask you about, though, Sam, was what would you think is the least thing that's been covered about Janis that everybody kind of focuses on the drugs and on the certain songs, but
Okay.
what is everybody missing about her that hasn't
Well,
been discussed?
first of all, I have this thing, an article called Janis First Person. I don't know if you've read that.
I've read parts of
But
it.
I
yeah.
think it really catches her.
Mhm.
The easy answer, the first answer to that is that she was an intellectual. She's really widely read, which in the 60s was something because it was basically a nonverbal time. So she'd read all this stuff. She read all the way through that. She read the Nancy Mitford writing on Zelda Fitzgerald and just, one book after another. She really read a lot. So she's very informed and very bright with a large vocabulary and well-spoken. Now I don't know, people may know that, but I think usually Janis is thought of as this hot blues mama, kind of cartoonish, blues
Just a
belter,
character.
character, and she definitely was that. But there was this other side. It wasn't in conflict. They were all there together. She's very bright and really colorful and maybe funny. I don't know if people know that. I mean, she was hilarious. Just to be around. She was as funny as Phyllis Diller or Joan Rivers, and kind of in the same way. So.
Well, I read some of that in Pearl. I just finished
Yeah.
that book a couple weeks ago, and it sounded, they talked a lot about the book collection she had and that she would carry around on the road.
Right.
Stuff like that, philosophy, religions, and things like that.
It's probably not that uncommon. I was talking to Patricia Kennedy something, who was married to Jim Morrison. She was writing to me about how widely read he was, and he was always had 3 books going and stuff, and I certainly did. So maybe, it was more common than we think. But the 60s were just such a nonverbal era. At times, I went through a thing there that when I couldn't read fiction because it called for too much of a suspension of disbelief. It was, I could feel the person writing the story, you know what I mean? So I couldn't get into the story. The writer didn't disappear. The writer was always there, choosing this word or that word and writing that paragraph. So I only read nonfiction for a long time in there, maybe at least 10 years, maybe more.
What kind of nonfiction?
Like Boswell's Life of Johnson.
Lyndon Johnson?
No, Samuel Johnson.
Samuel Johnson, okay.
18th century.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, a fascinating book, by the way. Maybe the best biography in the English language. And I don't know, just anything that would come to hand. I read a lot about languages and word roots and that kind of thing. I studied linguistics in graduate school at UC Berkeley.
Yeah.
And so it's a fascinating kind of side thing for me. So a lot of that, a lot of etymology and that kind of thing. So. But Janis was, she had, it probably came from her mother. There was this kind of cold, calculating school teacher side to her, and that's something that now that people wouldn't think of at all. All the while, this other character is there, and there's this intellectual there, but she just had a very intellectual approach to things.
More multi-dimensional than one might imagine.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Much more so. I mean, even for the common run of people, forget like a blues singer, just the population, definitely more multidimensional.
I mean, everything you read about her and others that have died, like her Elvis and Hendrix and all that, they always want to focus on the sadness in their life. Was it that bad?
No, it wasn't at all. I would almost totally deny that. On the other hand, I'm not a lot for psychological investigations of someone being sad. But no, she was having a really good time. I mean, she had way more fun than you and I put together, probably. I mean, she just had a real good time. And, when she actually died, she had a good time all the time, but then everything was on the ascendant.
Yeah.
She was making this album, and she's going to marry this guy. Totally wrong guy, but that's another thing. And
he was killed later, wasn't he?
Yeah, on a motor. He killed a woman. He took a woman with him on the motorcycle.
That's right.
And she said, no, I don't want to go. And he said, yes, and he killed both of them. So he's just a bad person. He was from a wealthy East Coast, maybe a publishing family, but maybe also banking. And he was just like the bad boy or something. But I don't know. Maybe he was cute. I don't know. He wasn't to me. But
we wouldn't think so,
yeah,
would we?
We wouldn't think so. No, he's just kind of an asshole.
Yeah.
But he paid for everything, and Janis really liked that, because
she was kind of frugal too, wasn't she?
Yeah. She had that side. That was part of that school teacher thing. She was very meticulous and kept records of how much she spent, and everyone was real surprised by that when she died. So there was this calculating side to her that it comes out. Do you know there's a play called Love, Janis?
Yeah.
In that play, from the very beginning, when she comes to join Big Brother, she is calculating about success in a way that none of us were. We were all just riding this thing and playing this music and really happy about it, And I thought the whole thing was going to last maybe 2 years or something at the outset and never be heard of again. But she wanted to be a star like Cher or something. It was a very strong thing to, she had this image of success and everything she did. Like she bought these clothes or that gold lame outfit she wore at Monterey Pop. It was very conscious. I want to dress like a star. I don't want to dress like everyone else.
No haphazardness about it.
And the rest of us were kind of like, we want to be genuine. We want to dress like our audience. The minute you stand up on stage and you look out at the audience and they look different from you, then there's a disconnect or something. But, she was all for that other thing. And in retrospect, I admire her for that. She had a very clear picture, and I guess that's what you're supposed to be when you're going for a goal.
Right.
Have this concrete image of it. And she really had that, The rest of us were kind of just bumbling along. Hey, this is great. We're playing. And,
Well, it hadn't been done before.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, it's all new music,
Yeah. Whereas what she was doing was sort of old-fashioned in a way. We were like going for this new thing, So, and plus, it's a male-female thing, too. It's kind of a gender thing.
That's interesting. What do you think is the, there's been some press about the estate and how her family's handling it and all that.
Yeah.
And the book I just read, I read several books on her, but the more recent one that's fresh in my mind, I mean, the mom and the sister don't really come off looking too cool, and I don't want to get into slamming or anything, but what's your perception of how that's all going?
It's evolved over the years. They were children, they weren't there. That was the main problem. So they inherit the estate, the mother dies.
Well, she's died and she's dead now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Quite a while back, at least 10 years. But how to approach it? The whole thing is evolving. At first, they blamed us for her death. Janis would not have done heroin, and you guys were this was an awful thing. You ruined her, and you've taken this person from our family, and and now you say you have something to do with this music, and you want some of these royalties. Well, fuck you. We're not going to do that, and anything you want, we're against it. And for years, it was that way.
Wow.
Then Laura wrote this book called Love Janis.
Mm-hmm.
And to do that book, she had to interview everyone in San Francisco. And she finally got it. She said, oh, everybody was doing that. Not just Janis, or, Big Brother wasn't in this dark room exposing Janis to heroin. If anything, it was the other way around. But they were all, everybody was doing this. And so their minds expanded a little bit. And then they did a play from her book, and so she's had to hang out with people.
Mm-hmm.
And they've come to, I think, a real understanding of what Janis was, and that everyone's responsible for their own. She was responsible for being a drug addict.
Yep.
I've been a drug addict. So somebody doesn't, make you do it.
Don't pin you down and,
Yeah, it's the other way around. You're
Yeah.
asking for it. You're bugging them for it.
Yeah.
They're saying, you got to cool it, and people are trying to be responsible. And she was the biggest user of everything. She ate the most. She talked the most. She was the smartest. She did the most dope. She drank the most. Whatever it was, she did the most of it.
Wow.
So they have come to understand that, but they've never said, gee, I want to apologize to you for those years, when we...
I don't think it's in their DNA from what I've read of them.
No, it's not at all. And especially Laura's. Laura she got that school teacher thing, but she got it all. You know what I mean? She didn't get the leavening humor.
She got the concentrated version of it. Huh?
She's not as smart, although she probably thinks she's smarter, but she's nowhere near as intelligent as Janis. So,
well, crap, when you take a look at I look things at very black and white. Let's compare websites.
Yeah.
Your guys' website and Janis's official one.
Yeah.
You can spend 3 minutes on that one.
Yeah.
And what is there? Okay, so you see the tour dates. You see, the albums that everybody knows about.
Yeah.
And maybe something about the play.
Yeah.
But, you guys have, stuff, the history plus what you're doing now.
Well, if you can think of any way to tell us to improve that website, because I don't focus on a lot, although I'm starting to.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm kind of running a website out of Facebook. I've kind of got all my paintings
I didn't know that.
on there.
Okay.
Yeah. If
Well,
you're
I'm on there. I'll get to you then and ask for the invite.
Because all my stuff is there. But, and they live, I don't know, he chose to live in Arizona,
Her dad?
No, Michael Joplin, the brother.
Oh, the brother. Okay.
Now, the brother is younger, so he was the baby, especially then. The farther back you go, the more out of it he was. But
now, the mom was also in Arizona, too. That's where her and the dad retired, didn't they?
Oh, well, I don't know.
I think so, up in, around Sedona or somewhere.
Oh, okay.
I think.
I bet you're right, because that's probably where she died. Yeah, you're right. But, so that explains a lot. That explains the brother settling there. I never knew that. See, I didn't. I did. I read it. I remember reading it.
Well, it was in the book, and the mom was still alive in the book, and I didn't bother checking to see. I assumed she was dead.
The mom was still alive in the book?
In the book it was, yeah. But the book is like 12 years old.
See, but one of the things about this play is that the reason the guy wrote the play is the mother died, and they went through her effects, and they found all these letters from Janis under her bed, and they brought them to the playwright didn't want to have any. He said, I'm not going to write about this blues mama,
Mm-hmm.
And they found these letters, and they brought them to him, and he said, oh, this is different. This is really a thoughtful person. There's a play here.
Mm-hmm.
So that's his story. He tells that in every interview, and it's the truth.
Now, you have a play on her, too, don't you?
Well, that writing, the reason I did that Janis first-person thing is they're going to make a movie about her one of these days. It's just a matter of time, although it's been a long time. It's been at least 15 years that we talked to.
The Rose was the closest to it.
Yeah. In feeling it is.
Yeah.
It definitely is. Although it's not close. But, some of these movies, you should read these scripts. It's just like, who is this person? They're talking about this power-mad, sex-driven, crazy woman, and she comes and rehearses the first day with Big Brother, and then she goes in the bathroom and says, how can I take over this band? There was nothing to take over. We were all building this thing together.
Well, you were already established in San Francisco, right?
True,
Yeah.
but that's the farthest thing from how she was. She had her foibles, definitely, but they're all writing their own story. That's what it's all you can write.
Yeah.
So there's Melissa Etheridge,
Mm-hmm.
and then her significant other is her name Julie Cipher or something.
Mhm.
And I saw the screenplay she wrote, and it's like horrible. You know, it's this
Really?
Hollywood, you know, disgusting ego game, real shallow.
You would think they would
You know.
want to do it perfect, though,
Well,
you know?
but they did do it perfect, but it was all they could see. What you see is what you get, you know,
Yeah.
and that's all she could see, you know. And somebody made an interesting comment the other day. They said, well, Melissa was going through a lot of that shit, and that's why Julie wrote that. And I never thought about that, but it kind of makes sense. But then I know Melissa, and she's a worthwhile person. I mean, anyway, you wouldn't believe how disgusting the script is. It's so far, you know, if you read it and you go, huh? Who's this? Is this, you know,
Wasn't who
Joan
I hung with.
Crawford or- what is this,
Mommy Dearest?
You know? It's like really, you know, and there's no spiritual moments or anything. She had a lot of them. You know, the whole
Mhm.
scene was about that. You know, they just miss it. And that's only one script. There have been several scripts, and I've seen them, and they're all kind of, you know. I understand they have to write and titillate people, and they have to sell tickets to these movies, you know. So, you know.
But it sounds
yeah.
like the true story is
Yeah.
enough in my
Yeah,
mind.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's what So I sat down and wrote this in self-defense. I said, I'm going to remember everything Janis ever said to me. Really remember it, you know, not the way it was for an interview or something she said to me in the car on the way home from a gig. So I just wrote down all these things, you know,
Mhm.
just so I'd have them preserved. And really, frankly, in case there's ever a decent screenwriter, get with her or him and say, hey, you want to team up on this, you know? And
You almost think like an Oliver Stone would just like take
Yeah.
something and just smoke
Yeah.
it, man. I mean,
Yeah.
that would be
Maybe The Doors was enough for him, though. But
yeah.
that's true. Especially the first part of that Doors movie it felt like what it was like, you know.
Yeah, the beginning of the
That sweet
ascent.
innocence of the hippie scene.
Yeah.
He got that right at the beginning of the Doors movie. So that's why I wrote that. I wrote it just kind of in self-defense, you know, just so I wouldn't lose my sanity by reading these stories and forgetting, you know, who Janis was.
Yeah, it's amazing that you could be able to do that too after all these years. I mean,
Yeah.
it's been a long time.
Well, I took a lot of time, and that's, you know, quite a long time ago that I wrote it, maybe early 90s. But still, yeah, it's been a long time. But, you know, she's very vivid to me, and I hung out with her a lot. I knew
Yeah.
her, I think, better than anyone, although probably every person in her life thinks
Yeah.
that. You know, she's that kind of person.
So you spent a lot of time with
But
her.
I spent more time with her than anyone. I definitely played more nights with her than any musician in her life, you know. We had many a ride home from the gigs, and, you know, she'd say all this stuff. So I just kind of would remember, you know, how it sounded and stuff, and try to. So one of these days they're going to make a movie, and when they do, I'm going to call a screenwriter and say, just do me a favor, take a look at this. You know, are you writing anywhere close to this? Is it, you know, because, you know.
Well, and I think that would be very important. That's the reason why I was even mentioning Oliver Stone. I mean, he plays a little fast and loose with facts too, but you know, JFK was still a good movie, right?
Yeah.
And so was The Doors.
I love his work. He's definitely a propagandist, but I love what he does. Yeah.
Well, we saw some of him filming some of JFK in Dallas when we were there, and got some of it on videotape. It's kind of cool watching how he worked.
One way you can tell he's kind of well-rounded is that when he did the Bush movie, you know,
I haven't seen it yet.
People said, "Oh, you were too easy on him and stuff." See,
yeah,
they were expecting Oliver Stone. Oh, he's going to murder Bush, you know. And he went to school with Bush, which I didn't know. He and Bush were classmates at Yale.
I'll be darned.
And so, you know, maybe that colored it or something. But it's like it's like a fuller portrait of this guy. You know, it's still devastating because, I mean, you know, but
goofball.
Yeah. But then it shows his religious conversion, and he's sincere about that. And, you know, it's kind of what you should see it sometime. I'd be curious on your reaction. You know?
I work so much. It's hard for me to once in a great while, my wife will sit me down and say, we're watching a movie together. You know? I got to write, you know. But you mentioned Melissa Etheridge. It was going to be further down in my questions, but I wanted to ask you, what was your opinion of her treatment on her treatment on Piece of My Heart?
I love Melissa. She's a real musician, for one thing. She's really sincere, and she's really talented. You know, and she took the trouble to learn all of our names. You know, this is political, but you know, she knew who everybody was.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about, we did a thing at Maritime Hall when we were talking about this movie. Part of her research was to come and do Ball and Chain and Piece of My Heart with us. And so she came, and it was a big deal, you know. And you know, she was in dressing room here, and we were here. And at a certain point, you know, Melissa's led in, and you know, and she knew all of our names, and so she took the trouble to memorize, you know, everything. And she did a great job. I mean, it was like hot, you know. It was the audience. There were a lot of lesbians there. This is San Francisco, so it was great to see her playing to her crowd, you know, and people were really affected by her, what she did, and it was sincere and real, you know. So I liked her. I'm a big fan, you know.
I love her work. I've been trying to figure out a way to since I'm so boomer focused on this side, I was thinking, how can I justify interviewing her and having her on the side?
Because she did that movie.
That's true. That's true.
Ask her about that. That would be fascinating. Especially ask her about Julie writing that screenplay. I'd be curious to see what she would say about the whole. Ask her about the whole. Because that was Paramount Lakeshore was the company, and it was set to go. You know, it was something happened. But they cleared all the rights. They paid $1 million to use Piece of My Heart, not to own it or anything. It was the highest amount ever in the history of film.
Wow.
Paid for the rights. So they spent all this money, but they're visual people, you know, in Hollywood. They forget, you know, they don't have a script. What are you going to do? You know, you don't have any.
It can't be a big music video.
Yeah, it's like it's a shitty script. You can't escape from that. I'm sorry.
Who would they use to play her? To play Janis?
Well, they were going to use Melissa.
Oh, really?
That's what I mean.
Wow.
That was Melissa's. That's
well,
the
she
thing.
could definitely do it. You know,
that was the thing. And her girlfriend, significant other, wife, whatever you want, wrote the screenplay.
Are they still together?
Shitty. No, they're not. So you might. That's your hook. You could say, "I'm going to interview you about the making of that movie." She might not want to talk about it, you know. But and then you know what? So how did Julie start writing this? And what did you think? I mean, did that strike you as an accurate portrayal?
That's a great idea.
And,
I may need your help in getting to her or to her people.
I have a number for it that I used then, but that's a long time ago. And
I think I might have a number for or an email address for her agent. I don't know.
You could try Facebook or try her agent or something. And I mean, for what it's worth, you can say you talked to me and you're interested in talking to her about the Paramount Lakeshore version of Janis Joplin. They had one, and then Nancy Savoca on the East Coast, who's made some indie films. She was going to do a version, and that was she was going to have Lily Taylor, which is not a bad idea because Lily Taylor's kind of edgy and kind of street, and you know, she's not going to look like Janis Joplin, but you know, she's got that spirit, you know. And Francine Prose, who's a very serious New York writer, wrote the screenplay, which I didn't really see that, I don't think. Or maybe I saw some of it. But, you know, they haven't got her yet. That's why I wrote that piece, you know, because that piece is her, you know. I mean, that's the way she sounded in real life. I guarantee that, you know. I knew her, you know.
Yeah.
And so far, no screenplay has sounded like that. You know, it all makes her sound like Joan Crawford. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Well, I hope you can get somebody to take what you've written and put it to a screenplay.
Be partners with them or something.
Sure.
Hey, I'd make a lot of money. You know, it'd be great. But best of all, you know, you get that story.
Get the right story out there.
It'd be a lot fun. It'd be a project. It'd be something fun.
Did you see the chick on American Idol that did Crybaby?
No, I didn't.
Oh my God! So
I
you
heard
got
about it.
Oh, kicked butt on there, man. She was. Yeah, it doesn't look anything like Janis, but it has the voice.
Well,
I mean, she could do it.
Yeah.
You know, she.
I should know about her to call her to do a gig with Big Brother sometime.
That's a great idea. Yeah, they're on tour. Yeah. Maybe in a year or so. That would be phenomenal.
You don't remember her name? Not that.
Allison.
Oh yeah.
You probably go to iTunes and see
Somebody
the video
wrote
there.
me about it.
Yeah, she did a phenomenal. And then of course Adam Lambert is blowing everybody away.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't know. I don't watch TV, so I don't. You know,
I
just
don't
like
ever.
you in movies.
Yeah.
I don't know anything
Well,
about.
my family got me into
Yeah.
American Idol. When I saw Adam Lambert, I said, "This guy is phenomenal." It was worth taking the time to watch
I
it.
believe it.
And the guy, I kid you not, Sam, this is what I said. I said, this guy could take Freddie Mercury's place on Queen.
Yeah.
And I swear on the last night, Brian May and Queen was there, and he was singing with them. And they said afterwards, they're talking about maybe doing something. I was like, yeah.
Okay, just don't catch AIDS and die.
That's right.
We know you're gay, but take it easy.
Kiss someone else, not me.
Yeah,
But, so how's the touring going for you with the band and all that? Are you guys getting a lot of gigs? And
well, we're doing this thing this summer. You were talking about Barry McGuire doing what was the name of
his is
tour?
Trip in the 60s.
Yeah,
Now you're
ours is
doing Heroes of Woodstock.
which is awful name. And Trip in the 60s is a little better.
Little better.
Somebody should come up with I hate that.
Well, they've
Heroes
got
of
Hippie Fest going on too.
Yeah.
So I just
I guess there's no good word, no good thing. It may be with the word counter-revolution in the title or something. I don't know, but so Heroes. But we're doing it, and it's like you were talking about your high school reunion. That's, we knew each other when we were 20 to 25, and not famous, not known at all.
starving together.
Yeah, starving together. And now we're like these old people, in our 60s instead of in the 60s.
Yeah.
And everybody's kids and grandkids and what's happening with your prostate and
A lot of rubber gloves going around there.
and heart and all this stuff. So every time so it's rich. There's a rich thing about seeing these people all the time.
No, they're supposed to hit Fort Worth, but I'm not seeing any bands on there.
Yeah.
I just see that Hippie Fest is hitting Fort Worth.
Seems like I would remember that because
well, it's not
my
on your
sister is
roster
there.
because I was looking because I'm hoping to catch it if there's going to be any bands there. But Hippie Fest is hitting the 30th of next month. And when I landed in San Diego today, I had an email waiting for me from the promoter asking me if I wanted to interview Leslie West from Mountain.
Yeah,
and so
he's a stalwart on these things.
Yeah, so I said, sure.
Yeah.
Chuck, how do you pronounce his last name? Negron or something like that. Three Dog Night.
Yeah,
he's touring with them. The Turtles, Badfinger.
Oh.
So I mean, it's a pretty good cluster of people.
That's a bigger draw than our band.
Yeah,
it definitely.
Well, I don't know though.
No,
I mean,
they are. Like
really?
the Turtles is a big draw. There for a while, every movie that came out had that song in it.
Yeah.
Whatever, remember that?
Yeah.
So Happy Together.
Yeah.
Every movie. And there was one movie that had it in the title. So they, I know how much you make on those things. And they made a lot of money.
They had to.
Yeah.
Well, they're. When I was talking with Edgar Winter, not trying to name drop, but I mentioned that to him too because right around that time I talked to him was when you and I started exchanging emails, and so I mentioned Heroes of Woodstock to him, and he's like, well, I think we're supposed to play there. He goes, are we? And I said, well, yeah. Because he and Johnny, they did Woodstock, but there's no film footage of them on there. So, so anyway, we talked about that. I'll be posting that Sunday night on that interview. But he puts on a pretty good show. He really does.
They're the real deal, both of them. I'm amazed they don't have them on Woodstock. That's so typical. I mean, because Johnny was when we saw him, we just couldn't believe him. Janis knew him in Texas. I mean, he was from
90 miles apart from each other.
Yeah, something like that.
Beaumont and Port Arthur.
Port Arthur. Yeah. Are they that far apart? I thought
that's what Edgar said.
Okay, well,
there's 90.
It's an
I think it's a
authority.
Better than I know.
So she knew him, but we didn't, and he was amazing, and he always has been amazing, and so has Edgar Winter, both of them. I mean,
Edgar plays so many instruments, and just watching him, I was right up on the stage, right in front of the stage left speaker, and I was like just blown away by his versatility and how he masters everything he takes on, and still got a lot planned to do. His album that he came out with last year had Slash and a couple of Clint Black of all people on there, and
I'd love to be with him this summer.
You guys ought to talk and get something going there. That'd be really cool.
Well, we just have so little influence on that part of it. we had these agents band together, and they basically tell us what to do and hire a babysitter for us and stuff like that, you know. So.
Well, I hope you get to make the Dallas area somewhere. If it's within 2 or 3 hours, I'll go and see you guys.
Yeah.
You know, I'd love to catch your show.
Have you seen the schedule of those shows?
Yeah, but I'm not seeing anything, and that's why I was asking if maybe there was.
True. Yeah.
But there's something definitely going on in Fort Worth. It's in August, and it's Heroes of Woodstock. But I'm almost the impression I'm getting is that it's almost like an art show, and I'm like. That just isn't going to work if that's what it is. I mean, arts and crafts or whatever.
Yeah.
And, you know, but it's going to be a bunch of tie-dye hanging
some
around.
of those, like, different... There's a Starship and Canned Heat and 10 Years After and Big Brother. But on one date, 10 years after, like the one we had in San Diego, they weren't on it. All the rest of those people were. And then another date, so-and-so being on it. So we're probably missing the Texas date or something.
Crap.
For some reason, you know, conflict or whatever. You know.
Well, I'll keep an eye on your roster on their website, and then. But you mentioned the website on there. My web skills are very minimal, as you can tell by my site. But one of the things I think is important for any of the bands, and I've got a proposal in front of Rick Derringer now. They wanted me to start writing his press releases, and so I said, well, you really need to keep more in touch with your people.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's quarterly, monthly, something. You know, don't make it painful for people to read, but you know, if it's just a one pager, and say, hey, here's what we're doing, post pictures of the fans and all that. I mean, that just and keep it, you know, keep it moving.
I do that once a week. Yeah.
Well, I need to. I signed up on there, but I thought maybe I didn't do the confirmation on there, so I need to put my. I need to put it on there and make sure because I want to get.
It's called a forum, and if you go to the Big Brother.
Oh, okay, so it's in the forum. Okay. Cool.
So usually we finished our gigs of the weekend. I kind of write them up, what happened and stuff. You know, so it's fun. I like it.
And the interaction with the fans, I'm sure, is just and with on the Facebook end of it too. It's a lot of that. And once you get to that 5,000 mark, though, I think you got to go to group, and it makes it a little less personal there. But
well, I'm halfway. You know, and I'm dreading that. I thought you just weren't allowed to add anyone, period, when you reach 5,000.
No, what you can do is you just create not so much a group. I forget what they call it. It's like a fan of type of thing.
I think I've seen that.
Yeah, there's several out there that have exceeded that 5K mark. So it's. I'm relatively new to Facebook. Last couple months, I've really started. I've been a member of it for years. Wow. Never did anything with it because it used to be just for students, and I was working on my master's at the time. And then they opened it up.
What was your master's in?
Finance.
Oh.
I went to a little Baptist college there in Dallas, and just knocked it out. Actually, I finished it while I was in Arkansas. So I just it was easy for me to do. The company was paying for it, and I got it done. Well, I'm glad it's done too.
Yeah.
But
are you going to go for a PhD? You think of?
Gosh, I don't know. I probably not.
Yeah.
I haven't been too terribly impressed with the PhDs I've met.
Yeah.
I've got a cousin that's one in theology and Old Testament, New Testament studies, and he writes books and goes all over the world and speaks on it, and I love listening to him. But in fact, he's writing his latest book is on the apocalypse, Revelations, and so it's. I'm going to see him at the family reunion in a couple months, and so I'm going to find out what the latest is on the book. Because, in fact, I talked to his mom on the way up here and check in with her every once in a while. But she's PhD, probably not. I want to develop my writing, and my goal is to. I'd love to make a living doing it. Leave the corporate rat race and keep the classic rock. Story alive, keep the latest and greatest, which leads me to the lost tapes. What happened there, man? What do you mean? I mean, tell me about it. What's the?
Well, I didn't have a lot to do with that project. We played real early on at a club called the Matrix in San Francisco, and Marty Ballin and his father owned it or something. Anyway. The guy, he was real smart, who did sound there, recorded everyone. It's with technology from that time, of course. But he recorded all these tapes, and then we played at several other places, and those were recorded. So they were collected together, those performances. So they're us like a long time ago, even before our first album, And So the lost tapes, we'd known about them for years, but it was hard getting them away from that guy or something, and so that's the way we sounded, I guess, when we first got Janis and before we first really went into songwriting mode. They're almost all like other people's tunes or
right, covers and stuff. Yeah.
And I don't know what fans think. To me, the playing on it is abysmal, but then a lot of people say they like it, so I have to honor that. I don't want to make them feel like a fool or something, but it's when so there's a lot of energy. It's when we started out. To me, my favorite part is like there's Peter Albin, who's the bass player, and he was the leader of the band at that time. And he talked, and it has him talking on there, and that's the way he was, and it sounds like Lenny Bruce, Mort Saul, Bob Newhart, that early 60s, Tommy Smothers. I mean, it's this real goofy announcing style. He kind of talks and he mumbles until he backs into something. And I really enjoy. I love Peter when he was like that. And so that's what to me, that's what the Lost Tapes is. It's Peter talking and announcing all this goofy stuff. But I don't know. Why? Would you want to?
Well, just how they were found. I thought, because of the lost tapes, I didn't see much on the site about how that all came about.
Mainly through that guy. His name's Pete Abrams, and he recorded a lot of tapes at that club at the Matrix. So
it's almost kind of like the Bill Graham stuff on Wolfgang's Vault.
Exactly. Only earlier. It's earlier.
Wow.
Yeah. It was real early. I guess he recorded everyone. I don't know if the other bands have released that, but definitely the Jefferson Airplane, which is what it was then. He definitely recorded all of them.
Gosh, those things would be all that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm surprised you let go of the stuff for you guys.
Yeah, I don't know how that happened exactly. Yeah.
Are the sales of it going pretty well?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it's good. It's a handsome package.
I haven't picked it up yet. I've listened to cuts off the web, off of Best Buy. It wasn't a bootleg or anything, and I honestly was going to try to get it bought and download it on my pod so I could be familiar with it. And I'm not going to lie to you, I didn't get a chance to do it because of my workload, but I'm planning on picking it up.
About it. I never listened to it. I think I heard some of it because I know those tunes. I remember us playing them. They were goofy. We did goofy things. It was a lot of fun. That brings up the fact that Janis was a real trooper, and they never get that in these screenplays. She was willing to do. She'd play like a tambourine for 15 minutes. We'd do this instrumental song. I mean, she really loved what we were doing. She looked up to it, and she enjoyed. It was highly experimental, and she'd just play, like a claves or something, or she'd, wail like a banshee or something. Be really experimental. She had fun doing that. I mean, she was, So that was in that, she'd defer to Peter, he would announce things, and, we'd all kind of laugh at him and with him, because he kind of mumbled. I think he was missing a tooth, and everything kind of sounded like this when he talked, and it's real self-deprecating, and, that Tommy Smothers thing. He had that thing down perfectly.
Well, they're touring now, too, speaking of. They're going to hit Dallas in October. Yeah. I can't get their people to reply to me. I'm kind of hurting my feelings.
I saw
a
documentary on them. I don't know.
I did. I saw that.
Well, it was really interesting. I always thought Dickie was kind of the businessman, the dominant guy, and pulling all the strings behind the scenes. And it emerges in this documentary. It was really Tommy running everything, and being the rebel and kind of shooting themselves in the foot when they went against that censorship thing. He overdid that.
The writer for that show's got a book coming out in October as well. I forget the guy's name, but if you go to their website, they noted.
And they talked about him a lot.
Yeah.
Well, one of the writers was Steve Martin. That was like maybe his first job or something.
He's doing banjo work now. Did you see that?
Yeah, well, he's really good.
Very good. Yeah.
He's really good.
So
he's quite a guy. He's actually brilliant.
You get that from him. I mean, when you read his, I read his autobiography, and it was
I did too.
To read through. I mean, you expect this. People would expect this zany guy, but comedians, they're deep.
They work so hard.
Yeah, they really do, and they're very good. They have a depth to them that people don't appreciate. I mean, Dangerfield, all those guys are like that. Just the, and and a lot of sadness, I think.
Yeah.
You know, that builds that comedy that
Yeah.
they can be out front and then they go back. You know, it's sad, but it is what it
You
is.
have to be
you know?
brilliant to be funny. I mean, there's no two ways about it. Just that timing thing, the whole thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
And knowing who you can be funny about. You know, that's
Working on it, and all that work. You know, Steve Martin really describes that well in that autobiography.
Yeah, he does.
How hard he worked on that. And, you know, I mean, he really lets you into that process. You know,
Yeah.
It's great.
Yep, he's a genius. I loved him since Let's Get Small. You know?
Yeah. Well, I knew there was a club in San Francisco called the Boarding House, and Peter Albin played in a band called the Dinosaurs, and they would play there, and Steve Martin would warm up for them, and
I think one of the albums was recorded there,
and he already did that stuff, like with the arrow through the head, and making the mic real high, you know, and so
Let's
it
Get
looks
Small.
like he got you know, and and we said, who is this guy? My God, he's so funny, you know.
Wearing the Benny Hinn white suit, you know.
He wasn't known at all then, and he talks about that a lot in playing those gigs at the Boarding House.
I just love I like his serious work. To me, I mean, I say serious. Father of the Bride, I have a 25-year-old daughter. She'll be 25 in October. And, you know, Father of the Bride, I mean, he nailed it. For somebody that doesn't have any kids that he knows of, you know, he nailed it. I mean, and it's like, that's just genius, you know, to be able to reach in and place yourself in that situation, you know. But
Quite a guy.
he is. It seems like I'd love to meet him someday.
Yeah.
What on the music side of things? And one of the things I asked the other people, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this. What do you see the difference being as far as music today versus the music of the 60s and 70s? I mean, I like to think the 60s and 70s had some real meat to it. You know, something that people could hold on to.
Everybody says that.
And to today. I mean, there's some people are diplomatic about it, but you know, I'd love to get your thoughts on it.
A lot to say about that. Where to begin? Technically, it's a lot better today. It's a lot better. There's no comparison. I'm real conscious of this because for every gig I have to hire for Big Brother, I have to hire a singer to replace Janis and a guitar player to replace James. You know, and these people are usually around 30 years old, and the difference in playing and their technique and their presentation is like, I mean, they're better. Every guitar player that I hire is better than anyone in the 60s, you know, plays better because they have tuners now. There's a $20 tuner now that you can carry around in your pocket.
I've got one.
Yeah. For us, the tuner was like this oscilloscope that cost about $400, you know, and it was like a scientific machine.
Oh my gosh.
So nobody could afford it, you know. So maybe some bands had a piano in it, but we didn't. So we were out of tune a lot of the time, you know.
Wow.
And there was literally no book on how to play rock and roll when we started. There was a really good jazz book by a guy named Mickey Baker, and I had read that book when I was about 18 and practiced out of it. So, but there was no book on rock and roll. Now, there are not only books, but there's a DVD you just put in your computer and watch this guy do it and all that. So they're coming out of that. Plus, we had done it all. You know, now these guys have grew up on. They took as their starting point Jimi Hendrix, Yngwie Malmsteen, you know, Eddie Van Halen. So they learn all that stuff as their first thing. You know, our first thing was learning a scale. That, you know, they learn like tapping and everything. So they are amazing players. You know, they're amazing players. That's one thing. When you talk about the meat and stuff like that, there's not the focus in society now, and you can't make that up, or you can't package that and sell it. There's just in the whole general society, there's not the same feeling as there was in the 60s, you know. So people in the 60s were really committed, you know, and they'd come out of the folk thing, and they were really serious, you know, in a way that someone today can't be. Today it's like a business, you know, and it's big time, and there's Guitar Institute of Technology in Los Angeles, and turns out 500 guitar players that play exactly the same, you know. But technically, it's like way beyond anything anyone could do in the '60s. So it's those two things. It's lacking this focus that's in the whole society. And plus, it was the first time. It's your first time love. And these guys, they've fallen in love. 500 times or something.
Yeah.
So that makes it real different when it's the first time. You just can't replace that. It's like those old blues guys. You can, I don't know, say Gary Moore or can play really great blues. But it just is not going to sound the same as Reverend Gary Davis. There's just something there. It's the same kind of analogous. The same. They're way better players. Play way better than Reverend Gary. I mean, as far as the knowledge
and the technique.
Yeah, and the technique and the tuning and all.
Well, don't you think too? The guitars are made differently today. You got that robo guitar that tunes itself. And have all sorts of different tunings on there and all that.
I have this thing that a really great guitar player gave me. It's just Chicago blues. And you play this thing, and there's a guy in the bed. I don't even know his name, and he's playing a guitar, and it has like one string on it, or two strings or something. And he's just playing it really quick, and it's just amazing. I mean, it's amazing what he does, and nobody can do that,
Golly.
And it's just like the shitty guitar, and he's shitty, and he's in the shitty room, and and he's doing this thing that's totally incredible, just instinctive musicality, So.
Well, I think too with from our generation, like I said, it was new. You said first love, but you didn't have this plethora of music to be distracted with. I mean, now I'm carrying 300 CDs on my iPod.
Yeah.
Back then we scraped our pennies together to buy an album.
Yeah.
And there was
meaningful.
Yeah, there was some value to it.
Yeah.
And we played it until the grooves were smooth and that type of thing.
Yeah.
Today you've got all this more money. Kids have more money and don't have as much appreciation of what it is they're buying. So there's that whole
but and everything has to be in a niche now just to sell it, The market's totally changed. There is
business.
There wasn't a market then.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
But the music is the music business is just so overmanaged.
Yeah.
I guess
it's like the movies. The lawyers and the accountants took over. So.
Well, I talked to when I was talking with Rick Derringer about it. He's kind of almost gone indie. He's actually with a label. He got a great new blues album out, by the way. If you like blues, check it out. He does a Hendrix song, "If 6 Was 9."
Yeah,
does an awesome job on it.
It's a great song.
Yeah, he does. He knocks it out of the park.
Yeah,
I think Hendrix would have been.
Yeah,
I didn't know him. I never met him, but I think he would have been impressed.
Yeah.
But
he would have been impressed with a lot of things that have happened.
But all of you guys, that it's such a youth market now, and there's not an appreciation, as much appreciation, excuse me, for your work. For Hendrix is an easy one; it gets everybody's attention.
Yeah.
But to have somebody like Melissa Etheridge come around and do "Piece of My Heart" or to bring out to what I feel are the better classics. And make people aware of them again and start dusting off those records and put buy the CD versions of them and that type of thing. And that's the purpose of my website, to bring back an awareness and an appreciation, and hopefully start driving CD sales for you guys and concert attendance. That would I love that kind of stuff.
We played a gig in Central Park in 2003. I'm real aware of it because I'm painting a picture of right now of the women who were involved in that.
Mm-hmm.
And there were some amazing women there. One of them was Phoebe Snow.
Yeah.
And she sang a song with us, and it was really good. I think it was "Piece of My Heart." I'm not sure, but that was quite an afternoon. It was in Central Park, and Nina Simone's daughter was there, a real good singer, and Millie Khan, Chaka Khan's daughter. And so I'm painting that. Actually, it was on the wall. I don't expect you to. You were at Roma, did you?
I just had walked in when you called me, so I turned right around, and walked out. So I didn't.
They add a lot to this too, if you want. If you
I would
want
like
to send
that.
it to me, I'm a fast typist, and
Okay.
I type as fast as I talk, and so it'd be real easy to.
Okay. One thing I was going to mention to you completely off, it wasn't have anything to do with this. You're talking about guitar players. There's a guy that I've been following for 30 years. I saw him in concert right after I graduated from high school in the summer of '77. And so I'll turn 50 in October. So I'd be your little brother, right?
Yeah.
So, but there's a guy that was out of a band out of Ohio, kind of reached some regional acclaim. You might have heard of him back then in the late '60s. It's called Glass Harp, and this guy's name is Phil Kagi. He's a Christian artist. He does a lot of Christian music, but the guy, go to YouTube and just do Phil Kagi. Watch this guy. This guy does, whether it's, he can rock with the best of them, but what's a real treat is he'll do, the last time I saw him in concert was a little town, Tahlequah, Oklahoma, little college town. Just him and his acoustic guitar, and he starts layering things. Harmonizing with himself, singing into the sound hole of the guitar and start layering. But he does Here Comes the Sun. And, to watch this guy, the guy is lightning fast on the frets. His middle finger on his picking hand is gone from a childhood accident. But whether it's on electric, acoustic, whatever, check him out. I think you might enjoy him. He does a lot of, he does Crossroads on one take. It's a really good version of it. But if you just enjoy good technique and stuff, he's been around for a long time.
I will.
And so anyway, that's completely off the point. From the standpoint of any, is there any new talent that's catching your attention these days that you're impressed with?
Well, as I say, I hire these guitar players, so that's the new talent to me. Is the guitar player and Big Brother. We have some ferocious guitar players. They're unbelievable. One you might look up as Joel Hoekstra, Hoekstra, and you could Google him. You'll see what he's doing.
Joe or Joel?
Joel.
Okay.
Yeah, J-O, yeah. And really, every guitar player we have, they're just unbelievable. People send me a lot of CDs in the mail. I hear a lot of unsigned bands. But I don't really follow anyway. My music listening's really haphazard. Usually, it's not haphazard. There's a goal in mind. I'm listening to it for some particular reason. So, otherwise, I don't have the radio on. Ever really. I was going to say a lot. And my wife is an excellent classical pianist.
Really?
So she plays. Scriabin and Bach and Beethoven, Mozart. So I hear a lot of that. I really don't hear anyone new, I'm sorry, except with what I said. I hear a lot of unsigned bands and I hear these guitar players.
Do you manage any? Do you take on any of that, or do you just like listen to them, give them advice?
Do you mean take it on?
Like managing them or help cultivate them?
I don't have the managerial talent. Although I booked Big Brother for years, and I kept that going till we finally got a decent agent. But
I thought you guys had a permanent lead singer for you with you on.
No, we have same thing. I have about at least 10 guitar players and 10 singers.
Wow.
The other guys in the band, Peter and Dave, have wanted us to settle with one singer for years. But that's you're asking me about musicians now as musicians. And everybody's in about 5 bands now too. That's another thing. That's why you don't get that focus. Because then they were in one band and it was their life, and man, this band's going to make it. Now it's like, well, I'm playing with so and so on Friday. I could possibly do that on Thursday. It's real diluted.
Yeah.
It has to be. It's economic just to make a living.
Just to make a living.
To do that.
Somebody who I thought this just popped in my mind. I actually met her about 29 years ago now, to be exact. Who I thought was Janis Joplin incarnate was Bonnie Bramlett, Delaney and Bonnie and Friends.
Oh, yeah, she was great.
The girl rocks. She could.
We almost went to Europe. I called her. We got really close. She was going to go to Europe and be the singer for Big Brother.
Really?
I don't know what happened. And she almost played that Central Park gig with us when I was telling you, Phoebe Snow, and we had singers all afternoon, and they would each do one song. It was really a lot of fun. And she was going to be one of them, too, and it just didn't quite happen. I talked to her a long time, though, on the phone.
She would be, I mean, just the whole fact of who, her and her husband, who just died recently, I heard.
Yeah. She's a doll.
The show would just, she's great. I saw her perform once. I actually promoted a concert. I'm very involved in church work and stuff, and I know you're not into that, but I actually promoted Joe English's first Christian concert. He was the drummer for Paul McCartney for Wings Over America, done work with Sea Level and Chuck LaBelle and those guys. Yeah. And 2 weeks before the concert, he calls up, or his agent calls up and says, "Hey, do you mind if he brings somebody along?" I said, "Who?" He said, "Bonnie Bramlett." I said, "Cool." Yeah. She opened for him and just brought the place down. I loved her.
She's got real soul.
She really does. She still has it from what I've gathered.
Yeah.
Very genuine person too. Seemed like to me, But anyway,
she's in that. Have you seen that film Festival Express?
No, I haven't.
It's really good, I reckon. But she and Janis are talking a lot, and their conversations are just so sincere and heartfelt. Festival Express.
I got it.
That's good. That's what I miss. People always go, "Did you miss Woodstock?" And I go, "No." And I know they don't believe me, but I could easily do without that. But I missed that. They took a train across Canada, and there were several bands on there. Grateful Dead was on there. Buddy Guy, Janis. In fact, it might be her best live singing, her best performance on film. They would stop all the way across Canada and get off and perform. And stuff.
Oh, wow.
And meanwhile, getting as drunk as they could, only as they did in the 70s. Total no regard for health or anything like
just
that.
Blitz and
just
oblivion.
Totally blitz. And the film is of that. And those people were having really a fun time, And that I miss. I wish I could have gone on that, But, so Bonnie Bramlett and Janis are having these drunken conversations, and they're both just like so sweet and so genuine, They're really saying important things to each other, It's really great to hear.
What do you think Janis would think about all this today if she were around? I mean, I know you're not you don't think of coulda, shoulda, woulda, but I mean, that had to cross your mind sometime of what she would think, of all this crap. Yeah.
Yeah. Probably the same as we do. I don't know. Hard to, she might. She's very bright. She might be, spearheading some of it or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how that would have turned out for her.
Interesting. Yeah. I think we've got most of it. I know I'm going to come up with some more questions.
Well,
and we know how to reach each other
by email. Yeah.
Okay. So, and I promise you, I think you've seen already. I'm not one to try to intrude on people's privacy and stuff. I keep things very confidential and all that, so I won't bug you on the phone. I will email you with some other questions, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm not much for the phone. Just in general.
I live on the computer, so.
Yeah. I'm really good on the computer. I do too.
But
I never live on the phone. Don't use it.
I work on the phone and the computer at the same time. I prefer email and text messaging and all that kind of good stuff. But if there's if you've got things coming up, tour wise, show wise, anything you want me to help plug that's what I'm about. So I want to try to when I put this together, I want to have it going to obviously PSF has already expressed an interest in it. I'll run it by you and maybe take a look at it and see what you think. I'll probably go more narrative instead of Q&A, especially because of how we kind of jumped around on things. But that's kind of how I think anyway. Okay. But the whole intent is to two things. I want to see what people are missing about Janis and get people interested in Big Brother and the Holding Company again if they're not already. Remember it and go catch a show, buy the disc, things like that. So, anything I can do.
You're something. You drove all the way from San Jose. Now you're going to drive back.
Yeah.
Where's your hotel?
Right there in Sunnyvale. It's over there near the Yahoo, and it's walking distance to our headquarters, the NetApp headquarters. So, So right there off of 101,
And
and
you're going to get up tomorrow and go do that and everything.
yeah, I'm going to be in meetings all stinking day, and then I've got a
amazing.
dinner engagement tomorrow night.
Whoa.
I was up at 3:00 this morning your time,
Yeah,
and
yeah, we do that when we travel.
yeah, it's just I can't sleep, and so I just I work. I'll
God.
probably go start transcribing this tonight.
Oh my!